Bob and Sandy Curtis were not naive people. They spent months researching before they wrote the check, walked the grounds twice, read the brochure carefully, and consulted accountants. They even interviewed the chief financial officer of the Harborside's parent company before signing. In 2022, they paid $840,000, funded by the sale of the Long Island home they had owned for nearly 50 years, for a contract that promised to refund half of that money to their estate. Bob Curtis, 88 years old, called it the final chapter. "That was the deal I made," he said. The bankruptcy court had different language for it. Since March of 2020, at least 16 continuing care retirement communities across the United States have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, erasing approximately $190 million in entrance fees paid by more than 1,000 families, according to a Wall Street Journal analysis, conducted with Gibbons Advisors, a healthcare restructuring firm. That is not a run of bad luck. That is a pattern. And the contract language that makes it legally permissible is the same language sitting in the folder you are about to be handed. The system is not designed around protecting your entrance fee. It is designed around spending it before you have any legal mechanism to recover it. By the end of this video, you will know the single most important document to request before signing any continuing care retirement community contract, and why most families never know to ask for it. The entrance fee is the structural foundation of the continuing care retirement community model. A family pays a large lump sum up front, typically between $200,000 and $1 million, in exchange for guaranteed access to a continuum of care on one campus. Independent living, assisted living, memory care, all there when the time comes. The refund promise, often framed as 50, 75, or 90% refundable depending on the contract type, is what makes the price feel survivable. What the brochure does not explain is where that money goes the moment you sign. In most CCRC structures, the entrance fee is immediately available to the facility for operations, debt service, and capital expenditures. It is not held in a dedicated escrow account. It is not secured by insurance. Under the Federal Bankruptcy Code, when a CCRC files for Chapter 11 protection, residents who paid entrance fees are classified as unsecured creditors. They stand behind banks, bondholders, and any lender who secured their loan against the facility's assets. The maximum priority consumer claim Congress has assigned to this category is $3,350. $3,350 against an $840,000 payment. The case of Friendship Village of Schaumburg, Illinois, makes the mechanism concrete. Located in a Chicago suburb at 350 West Schaumburg Road was Illinois' largest nonprofit continuing care retirement community, an 815-unit campus. Its contracts promised refunds of entrance fees upon death or departure. In June of 2023, Friendship Village filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Northern District of Illinois, after defaulting on more than $125 million in debt. When the facility was ultimately sold, former residents who were owed their refunds were directed to split $2 million among themselves on a pro rata basis. $2 million, divided across dozens of former residents, owed refunds ranging from $100,000 to $500,000 each, according to court filings. During the first year of the pandemic, the same period Friendship Village began its financial slide that would end in bankruptcy, IRS Form 990 filings show that. Its former CEO and president, Stephen Yenchek, received a salary increase of 17%. His compensation rose from more than $346,000 in 2020 to more than $405,000 before he stepped down in July of 2021. The nonprofit reduced direct care staff during the same period. The CEO's pay went up. That is not a coincidence. That is a business model. Now consider what happened in Florida. Tampa Life Plan Village, a retirement community in Tampa, previously known as University Village, did not simply go bankrupt. Its board president, Ronald Richard Schuck, was arrested on April 29th of 2025 on charges of continuing care contract fraud, a third-degree felony carrying up to 5 years in prison. That arrest followed a months-long investigation by the Florida Department of Financial Services Criminal Investigations Division, the Florida Office of Insurance. Regulation had already issued a final examination report documenting 9 violations of Florida's insurance code. The investigation found that Tampa Life and Big Rock Management Company, the firm that oversaw day-to-day operations, had misappropriated reserve funds and failed to maintain basic services, including shelter and nursing care. Florida Insurance Commissioner Mike Yaworski called the level of mismanagement unprecedented. By the time regulators moved, 109 residents had already been displaced. The collective entrance fee lost reached $30 million. 9 documented regulatory violations, 109 residents displaced. The criminal investigation into how the reserves disappeared is, as of this video, ongoing. If you are wondering whether your state regulator is watching the facility you are considering, that question now has a documented answer. The Harborside at Port Washington, New York, where Bob and Sandy Curtis paid $840,000. Filed for bankruptcy protection 3 times across 9 years. Its first filing came in 2014, 4 years after it opened. Its second in 2021. Its third in 2023. Total entrance fee obligations owed to residents and heirs at the time of the final filing reached approximately $130 million. The settlement that emerged from the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Eastern District of New York returned $42.5 million to former residents and heirs, approximately 25 cents on every dollar owed. Focus Healthcare Partners, a private equity firm headquartered in Chicago, acquired the facility for $86 million. Sandy Curtis, who has dementia, was separated from Bob, who remained in independent living. The facility they chose so they could grow old together, an elevator ride apart, is now a month-to-month rental with no entrance fees and no long-term contracts. What this data actually shows, when you look at it carefully, is not a series of isolated financial mismanagements. It is a structural feature of how the CCRC model processes risk. When entrance fees are treated as operating capital rather than protected deposits, and when the bankruptcy code places residents behind every secured creditor in the building, the refund guarantee in the contract is legally subordinate to every debt the facility incurred after your money arrived. The refund language is written to sell the contract. The bankruptcy language is written to pay everyone else first. The deeper you go into how CCRC financial disclosures actually work, the more one pattern becomes impossible to ignore. The Wall Street Journal's investigation with Gibbons Advisors found that approximately half of entrance fee-based communities are using entrance fees to service current debt and fund operations, which means minimal reserves are being held against the refund obligations. They are simultaneously marketing to prospective residents. The promise and the financial reality are not connected to each other. They exist in different sections of the contract, reviewed by different attorneys, enforced by different legal frameworks. The CCRC industry has argued for decades that bankruptcies are rare, that the sector is well regulated, and that refund guarantees are meaningful contractual rights. Leading Age, the industry's primary trade association, pointed out after the Wall Street Journal investigation that fewer than 1% of CCRCs have filed for bankruptcy since 2020. 1% of 1,900 communities is 19 communities. The $190 million lost, documented in public bankruptcy court filings, is the arithmetic of that 1%. Bob Curtis attended every bankruptcy proceeding via Zoom. That was the deal he made. Everything before this point is what the industry hopes you never find out. What follows is what they are genuinely afraid you will do with it. The document that would have changed the outcome for families like the Curtises, and that most families never know to request, is the facility's audited financial statement, covering at minimum the 3 most recent consecutive fiscal years. Here is exactly how to get it and what to do with it. First, request the audited financial statements in writing from the facility's executive director or chief financial officer before any contract discussion begins. Most states that regulate CCRCs legally require facilities to provide these upon request. Allow 3 to 5 business days. There is no cost to you. What you are looking for is the debt-to-asset ratio and the status of any entrance fee reserve fund. Second, ask specifically and in writing whether entrance fees are held in a dedicated escrow account or whether they are treated as unrestricted operating revenue. Get that answer in writing and confirmed in the contract language. The facility will not commit to escrow in writing. That answer tells you what you need to know. Third, contact your state's CCRC regulatory agency directly. In Florida, that is the Office of Insurance Regulation. In Illinois, it is the Department of Public Health. In New York, it is the Department of Health. Request the facility's most recent financial filing and any active complaint or investigation history. This takes approximately 30 minutes and costs nothing. It is the review that documented 9 violations at Tampa Life Plan Village before 109 residents were displaced. Fourth, retain an elder law attorney to review the refund clause, the discharge clause, and the debt subordination language before signing. Attorney review of a CCRC contract typically runs between $500 and $1,500 and takes 1 to 2 weeks. The refund you are being promised is worth, on average, several $100,000. The math on the attorney fee is not complicated. Fifth, verify the facility's current occupancy rate and request it in writing. Gibbons Advisors, the healthcare restructuring firm that tracked CCRC bankruptcies for the Wall Street Journal, identified declining occupancy as one of the most consistent precursors to Chapter 11 filings. A rate below 85% in a life plan community is a documented early warning indicator of financial distress. Those 5 steps, completed before any contract discussion advances, take 2 to 3 weeks and cost between $500 and $1,500 in attorney fees. The average entrance fee at risk in a CCRC bankruptcy since 2020 has been approximately $190,000 per family. That is the math. Before this video, you were the family the CCRC industry designed its contract language to reach. Someone who trusted the refund guarantee because there was no reason to know what happens to it in bankruptcy court. You now know what to request, what to read, and what in missing escrow provision actually means when a facility's debt load becomes unsustainable. If your family has dealt with a CCRC bankruptcy or a refund guarantee that did not survive the fine print, share what happened in the comments, because understanding how widespread this actually is matters. The senior living industry spends significant resources making sure families do not find out what you just learned. Subscribing is how you make sure the next piece of information they are hiding reaches your family before it costs them.